Hello there and welcome into this video where I'm going to be sharing some of the resources and the knowledge that I've been gaining this past, like 2 years, I would say, around understanding what are solar flares. How do they affect me? How do they affect my children? And looking at both there's the science part of it that scientists are studying and measuring, and then there is this transformation that's happening of our consciousness and within our DNA itself. So this video here, there's going to at least be 2 parts to it, because we're going to cover a lot of information and I'm going to be citing from a lot of different sources that I follow. So this video is going to be more that science-based, and then the follow-up video will be how this can be affecting you, like physical symptoms, and what you can do about it. So we're heading into big solar weather right now, big solar flares. So I want to share with you the knowledge that I've gained, and it's been really coming into my field through my interactions with people. They want to understand more. So this is what I'm attempting to do in this video. I'm not a scientist. I do have training. I do have a Bachelor of Science degree in biology, but I am not a scientist, but I do have a deep understanding of it. That, again, just my study and research has been leading me into. Anyway, nor am I a trained medical professional, but you'll find more of that in part 2 of this video. This one, we're going to focus more on the science and letting you know what is even a solar flare, that kind of thing. So, again, this is going to be a big video. There's a lot to cover, so we'll start to dive in. If you don't know who I am, my name is Christy Whistler. I am an intuitive, an astrologer, and I'm also the parent of 2 very unique neurodivergent children. So if you, by the way, are interested in getting an astrology birth chart reading for yourself, because the astrology actually does mirror what's playing out in this reaction, this mirror relationship with the sun, our earth, the solar system, it's all part of this. But if you want to know how this is affecting you personally, why you are having these getting ripped out of you moments again and again, have a birth chart reading and find out why this is all happening to you, what your soul is trying to teach you to grow through and from these experiences. Now, you can find out more about that at my website at christywhistler.com. And I also offer consulting calls, especially if you have these unique children that you need extra support of how to meet them in their needs, even in the society which doesn't understand the deep sensitivity that some of us have. And like always, please, really helps me out if you give this video a thumbs up and if you subscribe to it, if you share this with your friends. And I really am hoping that the solar flares video and giving you sort of a heads up of what is coming can help you navigate those moments when we are having solar intensity. So what does all that mean? Well, we are going to get into that right now. So, again, as I said, there's a lot. So let me give you kind of a backdrop on what this even means. So our sun goes through these 11-year cycles. They're called solar cycles. And right now we are in solar cycle number 25. And this began in 2019. So solar cycle 24 ended, and then we started into 2019. Now, I'm going to be looking at my notes because there's so much. I really don't want to get, I don't want to get it wrong. I will do my very best to be clear. So just know that I am I'm getting help from different resources who I will be citing, and you're going to find so many links in the description below, because my intention with this video is to give you an overview. I do a lot of pattern thinking, linking thinking. I'm like, oh, well, this person said this over here, this person said this, and then I start to pattern it to see from this more topographic awareness of what's going on, how are these different pieces fitting into place. And since I've already done a lot of that work, that's what I'm sharing here with you, is just kind of this compilation. So if you want to go down these rabbit holes and you want to explore more what this means, then I highly encourage you to do that. You go do you. If there's anything right now with this North Node in Aries is telling us, you do you. So go follow those little rabbit holes and directions and see what happens. All right, so I am filming this, what day is this? On March 6th, 2024. Now the reason I was feeling this like, ooh, I've really got to get this video out there to you guys, is because we're starting to come into what's called solar maximum, where there's this building of intensity that happens naturally from our sun. I'm just listening to my son being like, okay, does he need me? I think we're okay. The sun's going to be having more intense flares, and every cycle itself is a little bit different flavor. So like solar cycle 24 was kind of like, it was kind of weak. And scientists were expecting that solar cycle 25 was going to mirror that. Except that's not what's happening. Not at all. So we're coming into this intense crescendo energy with the sun's natural solar cycle. So again, solar maximum. Scientists were actually predicting it to happen more towards the end of 2024, but now with what the sun's been doing, its own magnetic poles having like shifted, again, you can go check out all that science stuff if you're interested. That has given them reason to be like, okay, we're going to reevaluate this, and we're going to be saying now that solar maximum is actually hitting this period of time right now that we're in. And so it's really feeling like this beginning of this March is we're starting to really hit it, and continuing into April and through like October. So it's not like we hit this date and then we're good, guys. We're no more heavy, intense solar flares. It's again, it kind of goes like this with the energy. It's like where we get really, really intense, it gets tense. And then even though as we're starting to like leave that solar maximum, we're still going to be having potentially big solar flares. And then of course, it's what the sun decides to do. Okay, so on February 21st, 22nd, depending on where you live in the world, of course, within 24 hours, we had 3 X-class solar flares. And I'm going to explain what that means in just a minute, but I just wanted to give you an example, is that in solar cycle 25, there were only 5 flares that were stronger than the one that we had on the 22nd, which was an X 6.37 flare. So this is already intense. So in 2023, we had 13 X-class solar flares, 36 M-class flares, and then we had 0 X-class flares in 2018 and 2019, just to kind of give you a little backdrop. So let me pause here and back up, because I can already feel your question of like, Chrissy, what's an X-class flare? Okay, so there are, gosh, before I even get into the numbers about this, let's even talk about, oh goodness, where do I even start? I'm just scrolling in my notes. Okay, I found it in my notes. All right, so what is a solar flare? Okay, this is when we have this sudden and strong release of magnetic energy that's been stored in the center of the sun, in the cornea. And I'm quoting from a website here. There's 2 websites with articles that I'm citing, so please go over there and check all that information. But it's when we have this huge blast of magnetic energy that produces radiation across the electromagnetic spectrum at all wavelengths. And this is radio waves to gamma rays that are just coming out from the sun in this sudden burst. And in fact, I highly encourage you to go look at pictures of what a solar flare looks like and what is an X-class solar flare, which is the highest ranked. And you can just see this sudden burst of light and energy. There's even pictures where you can see particles of little light particles. It's pretty awesome. And so those solar flares are also like, so we get those energies. We feel that within 8 minutes because it travels at the speed of light. I believe. Yeah, you can tell this is when my science is like, this is again not my default understanding. Astrology is more my thing. But it's we feel that, okay, it hits Earth within that 8 minutes. And then also there is the actual traveling of those particles and that energy to Earth. And that is what will create geomagnetic storms. And those, of course, are what can cause the different auroras, the aurora borealis in the northern and southern hemispheres. And that's when we have these geomagnetic storms and they're interacting with the Earth's magnetic field. And I'll come back to that in just a moment. So I want to talk just a moment about the ranking by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA. And so we have A, B, C, M, and X-class flares. So A, B, C, and M, they all go from ranking 1 to 9. And if they go over 9, then they go into the next one. So if you would have a C10, it's actually going to be an M at that point. And then the X-class flares just go as high as it needs to. The strongest ever recorded X-class flare was a 28, and that was in 2003. And then each one is each category is 10 times stronger than the one before it. So again, an A flare compared to an M is 1, 2, 3 times stronger. And then of course the X class. So, let me see where I want to go now. So X-class flares, these are extremely powerful for the Earth, for the whole collective. And I feel, I'm going to back up a moment and we're going to go and talk about the Earth's, magnetic field. Like why? Okay, great, Chrissy. Like there's this thing that's happening. Why? Like who cares what the sun's doing these solar flares, right? Like who gives a crap? The reason why this matters is because of our magnetic field, the geomagnetic field that is surrounding the whole of our Earth, our whole planet, and extends from the core of Earth, radiating outwards to where it will meet those solar winds or charged particles from the sun. And there is a magnetosphere that is above the ionosphere of Earth, and this is what's protecting us, again, from the solar wind, the cosmic rays, protects our ozone and us from that harmful ultraviolet radiation. So you can think of it like a spider web that is surrounding Earth. Again, these radiating waves, interlocking waves of energy, which, by the way, are also, scientists know, are connected to ley lines on the energy grid of Earth, as well as our collective consciousness. I don't know if we're going to be getting into the work with Rory Duff today. I feel like this is going to be a big one as it is, but he is a let me check my notes. Hang on a second. I don't want to quote this wrong. He's a geobiologist and a pioneer in researching, again, Earth's ley lines, Earth's energy. And he recently did a wonderful interview with Heather Ainsworth. But I feel like we're probably going to touch on that in another video. But just know that there is a lot of interlinking, interweaving information and energy. Like, I'm not just talking about, oh, woo-woo stuff, metaphysical, we can't measure it. Like, no, there is actually a lot of it that we can measure, and that we are continuing to be having the ability to even measure what these things are. Okay, so let's, excuse me. Let's cycle back up top where I was at. So we are going to be receiving these light codes, this energy from the sun, and it's actually going to be upgrading the cells within us as humans, as well as everything else, every living thing on this planet, even the rocks. And our physical bodies are having to adapt to this energy very quickly. Physical and emotional symptoms, and then we're going to get into that more a little bit later, but just kind of know that there's a lot at play that's happening. Okay. Another thing that we can also experience as well is when the sun releases what's called a coronal mass ejection. So they can have a big flare, and sometimes a CME is released. Now, sometimes it's earth directed, and a bunch of times it's not. So, and we can be receiving glancing blows from that energy. All right, clearing that out. Glancing blows from that energy, or direct hits, which again causes these geomatic storms, solar winds. We're getting these awesome auroras, and our bodies are also feeling this too. So the sun's doing a whole lot for us that we are not even aware of as we just go and live our day. Now, coming back to these X-class flares, they can trigger these electromagnetic disturbances like radio blackouts, power grid issues, power grids going down, anything that's related to electricity can be affected by the flares, by the geomagnetic storms, by CMEs. Intense solar activity can also cause abrupt weather changes and earthquakes, volcanoes, hurricanes, and so much more. And as I said, like, when I'm speaking about the ionosphere, the magnetosphere that's surrounding Earth, that spider web, it's like when we get hit with these storms and these flares, like, it's rippling all across our Earth. One way you can keep track of when these things happen is spaceweather.com is a wonderful site, and they even have a free app, Space Weather Live. And you can get notifications of these things happening. And it's like, oh, there's a big flare that just happened. And then it tells you as well, there's type 2 radio blackout over this part of the Earth that's been caused by these flares. And then as far as the earthquakes, as I said, this is linked as well to our ley lines into Earth's energy. So as things get more intense from the sun, it can really trigger even what's happening on the ground itself. Now, humans also have electromagnetic fields. We are electromagnetic, and we have our own fields. This is called the tube torus. Some people call it our aura. And studies have been done that are associating geomagnetic peaks, again, intense solar activity and weather, with mood disorders, depression, anxiety, bipolar swings, even suicide. So we're going to talk about all that more in the next video, but just know that you are your own electromagnetic field. So if the sun is doing these massive flares, guess what, guys? We're going to be feeling that too. And some of us more intensely than others, depending on how strong and how fine-tuned our own antennas are. Also, solar energy has been shown to change blood flow, boosting adrenaline, affecting blood pressure, sleep patterns, which, by the way, all that blood energy is linked to Aries, and that's where we have the North Node in Chiron right now. And I'll talk about the astrology a bit later. But just again, no, like, look, can you see the patterns? Can you see how things are all really starting to link together? One other reason I was feeling this like nudge that was getting harder and harder and a little bit more pokey to do this video in early March is because we're coming up to our March equinox. So again, Aries, the start of Aries season, and I just talked to you guys about the blood and blood pressure, all right? Equinoxes are known to cause cracks in the Earth's magnetic field, and it can create an opening portal to allow more of that high vibrating energy from the sun and from the universe to enter into Earth's field, and including our own. So around that equinox period, March 19th, 20th, and then, of course, rippling out a few days before and afterwards, because this is not a, this is the day it happens, and if it doesn't happen that day, you're good. Like, it doesn't work that way. But just notice that you can feel super strong, intense energies, irritability, anger. If you're someone prone to like, again, depression, anxiety, feeling more stressed, or maybe even more connected with other people, like, that can be a really powerful moment for the flares to happen, for us to as well be receiving these upgrades in our consciousness. What are we needing to shed? Outdated beliefs, thoughts, emotions, relationships. This is really ushering us into this transcending into who we truly are. So that's just kind of some overall energy that we're working with. It's also linked to the astrology. All right, so back again to the science in the historic time frame. So on September 1st in 1859 is when we had the Carrington event. And this is when we had a solar superstorm that destroyed telegraph systems over very large areas, especially North America. And that was our mode of communicating through electricity, which, by the way, Uranus is linked to electricity, and Uranus happened to be in Gemini at that time. Gemini is always about this communication. So this is what can happen when we have these Carrington events, solar flares, solar events that are so strong that they can just wipe out these networks, these electrical communication systems. So let me see if I want to. I'm trying to think, is it time for me to talk about the astrology? Okay, it feels like it's time for me to talk about the astrology. Okay, where am I with minutes? Okay, so now we're going to just do a little bit of astrology with this too. So again, scientists are like, yep, guys, the solar maximum for 25 is happening. Absolutely expect a lot more solar storms and a lot more flares that are getting stronger and stronger and coming within short periods of time from the sun. Now, with the astrology, we're linking this with the astrology now. It's likely as we go into 2026 that we're going to have more power outages, cyber attacks, radio blackouts, electrical internet outages, even this is disruption in our financial systems, especially if they're linked with electricity and digital. This energy that I'm speaking about is Uranus in Taurus. Taurus is our money, exchange, resources. Taurus is also the earth. So again, extreme earth events, earthquakes, volcanoes, eruptions, like, yep, all kind of the theme of Taurus, which is that fixed earth energy, and Uranus, which is sudden, shocking, out of nowhere experiences. Uranus is this pioneer energy from the future, and it's coming in with that electrical bolt to shine a light on truth. What needs to be seen? What needs that breakthrough? And this energy is also linked with Aquarius. Uranus rules Aquarius. We now have Pluto in Aquarius for most of this year. Pluto will be going back into Capricorn beginning of September until about November 20th. And then it's fully going to be staying. Pluto will fully be staying in Aquarius for the next 20 years. So it's a big deal that Pluto is back in Aquarius right now, because it's only happens about every 248 years that Pluto's here in Aquarius. So it's bringing power in everything that's linked with Uranus and Aquarius. And it's going to intensify all that energy. It's going to intensify our nervous system, how we're doing networking, the geomagnetics, the electricity. Uranus in Aquarius is also about destabilizing. It's destabilizing the earth and our nervous system because it's an upgrade. Now, I'm quoting from Pam Gregory. She did a video on unstable geomagnetics, so from 2023 to 2026. So I'll link that for you as well if you want to go and dive into more about what this means. But what I'm really trying to say is how much the astrology is absolutely in line with what we're seeing from our sun in the solar system right now. Uranus is also linked again to the unexpected. This is coming out of nowhere. And keep in mind, whenever we're going to have hard aspects to Uranus and Mars in particular, Mars brings a lot of energy to that Uranus. And again, Uranus in Taurus is that fixed earth, so there can be this sudden eruptive events. Give you some dates. On March 9th, 2024, depending on where you live in the world, we will have a square with Mars to Uranus. And then a month later, on April 8th, we have the solar eclipse in Aries, ruled by Mars. And Mars is going to be conjunct Saturn in Pisces at that time. And then a few days after that, Mars is going to be trine to Uranus. So it's not, that trine isn't going to be as challenging energy, but it's going to be energizing that Uranus and the conjunction with Jupiter, who's going to magnify this Uranus energy. And as I said, and then in April, we're going to have the exact conjunction on the 20th between Uranus and Jupiter. Okay, I know I'm talking lots of astrology stuff, but I'm trying to give you some like real dates as well to kind of just be aware of. Like astrology wise, we're really getting a lot of Uranian energy, the sudden unexpected coming through, same time as we're going to be having these intense solar flares. You know, and just as an example for you is on February 22nd, we had the exact conjunction between Mars and Venus. They were both in Aquarius. Who is the ruler of Aquarius? Well, it's Uranus. And that 21st, 22nd, within that 24 hours, we had 3 X-class solar flares, including the strongest that we've had in this solar cycle. So we're having this correlation, this observation of the synchronicity and the timing of all this. Also as well, and this is something that Pam Gregory had mentioned, so in Jupiter, Jupiter in May will be going into Gemini, and it's going to be retrograding, going back and forth the end of July, end of June, early July, over the 7-8 degrees of Gemini, which was where Uranus was at that Carrington event that knocked out all the telegraph systems September 1st, 1859. So, this again, it's like, let's see what happens. Then in July, we're going to have an exact conjunction between Mars and Uranus. So, as I said, Mars is going to energize as Uranian energy. We're really in a very potent, powerful 6 to 7 months of 2024. Okay, so how is any of this helping us? Right? Like, okay, we're getting all these solar flares. Like, you just gave me a bunch of astrology, Christy. Like, what does any of this really mean for me, for you personally? So I believe these energies are really allowing us to ascend in consciousness at a very incredible, fast rate. But that doesn't mean they're physically easy to go through. We've had a pretty steady and slower energy experience until very recently. And the more we up level, the more these solar flares happen and we receive these different light codes, we get these upgrades. It's like we're going to be able to process them. Like, they're not going to be getting us knocked off our horses as much because we're moving through them. Our bodies are acclimating. They're getting used to it. They are adjusting. And that includes our brains as well, our senses, our sight, our hearing, like getting sharpened, and our clair gifts coming online. And it is going to help us. But it's like, first we got to kind of go through this initial process that can be very uncomfortable. Like, as we have these new light codes that are coming in, it can be like our mission, this thing that we're here to do, our dharma can really be activated and even up-leveled in new ways. Some of us really are going to be able to feel these invisible currents of energy that are coming through that, we can't even measure them yet. It can't even be picked up by scientific instruments and studies, and yet our bodies can feel that. In fact, I was reviewing Pat Donworth's post, and I'm linking her below as well. She is a fantastic resource if you're on Facebook to follow what a lot of this means with the flares, the geomagnetic storms. She's one of the people that I kind of really started to learn from. But she was speaking about, like, if you go back through her feed on Facebook, she was actually 10 hours before we had that first of 3 X-class flares. Like, she was picking up on that. And I think that's really interesting because it's like, what are we feeling that cannot be explained? And Pat has this very interesting 3-part theory that she calls of our transformation, where first we have the Schumann resonance, which is that vibration that's coming, a frequency from the earth itself, which is there to really, she calls it anchor, protect, and stabilize our heart, brain, and body in a healthy frequency cocoon. So we can experience these evolutionary transformations and this awakening of our consciousness. And then the second part is the solar energies, our solar flares, the solar wind streams, the filaments released from the sun, the CMEs. And this energy, she theorizes, clears out the debris from our energetic fields and physical bodies, where this can be blocked energy, memories, karma, programming, and beliefs. It's really like clearing out the crap so we can have space for this new energy that's coming in. And then the third phase, she believes, is this dark energy, where it's this transformation waves, again, that cannot be measured. It's invisible, and it's there to really transform us. And I think that's beautiful because it also mirrors a lot of what Jason Estes speaks about. And he has this imagery of a dam, the door of a dam that's being opened, that hasn't been opened in years. And there's YouTube videos on that, and oh my gosh, talk about a visual. And it's like, as that door first opens, it's like all the sludge is coming through, and it's just gross. It's like, whoa, that's pretty icky. And that's what he believes these flares are doing for us, especially the X-class flares. Like, they're coming through, and we're receiving these sun self updates. And as he says, we are removing a layer of misunderstanding from our connection to our truest and highest level of connection to ourselves, around what is your connection to God, to source, however that is defined by you. Like, anything that's been blocking that is being removed. This clearing out everything that is untrue, that we may believed was true for hundreds or thousands of years, is being like cleared out from our energy bodies and bringing us back to alignment with our soul. And he calls this solar rain that we're experiencing from the sun, and to help us understand the solar flood that is coming. And it's like we have these bioantennas that the solar flares get knocked off from their original course, and it's this coming back again, back to center. When you have days of constant rain that turns into a flash flood, that's this energy that he's speaking about. And I've actually experienced that recently here in Los Angeles, when we had the atmospheric rainstorm that literally barreled through the city of Los Angeles, and there's just so much rain that things just flooded. And so that can be some of this experience as within ourselves. But I'll be talking about that more in the next video. But just kind of know that this can be some of what you are internally experiencing and feeling as well, as we get these solar upgrades, this realigning back to source. Okay, so I know that was a whole bunch, and I didn't even get into the earth ley line energy conversation. I feel like that's quite a bit for you to start sinking your teeth into, to digesting. There's so much information out there if you want to find out more and learn the science and what's happening for yourself. I was really hoping to pull through, like, okay, this is some of the science, this is some of the things that we know, this is the astrology, this is how things can shape up on Earth itself, like how they're all interconnected. Yes, oh my gosh, just so much. And then you can follow the different threads through with where you need to go on your journey and your exploration. If you want someone who does amazing, like a space weather explainer, even a little bit of forecasting, Stephen Burns on YouTube, like, he really dives down into the different meanings with the Schumann resonance and the Hertz layers, like, and the rates, like, oh my gosh, there's absolutely a rabbit hole available if that is calling to you. So I hope this was helpful. Please let me know in the comments, like, what have your been experiences with the solar flares? And know as well that we're going to have a part 2 where I'm going to talk about more of the human physical experience, where this video is more of that grounding of what even is a solar flare for someone who's never even heard of this before. So look for that one for more of that information. And if you are interested again in your birth chart reading, you want to know why, like, you're getting hit with this flood of emotion or experiences, and what is being cleared and shown for you in your life, and you need more guidance, maybe even just a validation of why this stuff is happening to you, I highly recommend looking into a birth chart reading. I have a 90-minute in-depth reading where we really go into it, and even then we barely scratch the surface of this stuff. Or I have a shorter 30-minute video which can help you through those really rough bumping moments. Even those little bits of understanding are so helpful to know why you're having the experience that you're having. So you can find out more at my website, or you can send me an email, and I would love to support you and get in touch with you. Please, as always, like this video, subscribe to this channel. It really helps me so much. And share. Oh my goodness, please share this video if you find it helpful. I'm really, really hoping that it can be supportive for everyone who is being called to learn more about the solar energies as we are hitting this solar maximum period and moving through it together as best we can. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.